At the heart of the Free Trade Agreement is the National Treatment Clause, which means that American investors, citizens, and corporations shall be treated in Canada as if they were Canadians. Article 1602 notes that no government in Canada, federal, provincial, or local, can any longer screen, regulate, or prevent any new American investment from entering Canada. To set up operations, buy out other companies, merge or sell to whomever they wish, charge prices as they see fit, transfer profits back to the U.S. Article 1603 forbids any performance requirements. American companies can hire whom they please, including their own citizens, and purchase all supplies and services from the U.S. if they so choose. The energy section of the Free Trade Agreement, in Chapter 9, gives the U.S. sweeping new rights to all forms of Canadian energy and all the products of each. It is important to note that Articles 408, 409, and 904 state that even if Canada faces a shortage of any good exported to the U.S., including all forms of energy, no matter how it's caused, the Americans are entitled to the same proportion of any Canadian resource they have been taking, as averaged over the 3 years prior to the shortage. For example, the U.S. now takes some 40% of Canada's oil. If there is a shortage, Canada is obliged under the FTA to provide the U.S. with 40% of its total supply, whether or not there is enough to serve Canadians. Massive amounts of oil are being pumped daily to the U.S. at far below replacement cost, and the Canadian government is getting practically nothing in return. The oil industry is now receiving roughly 70% of the revenue, while the Canadian government is getting less than 5%. Canada cannot become a major industrial competitor, which it certainly has the capacity to be, under such conditions. Under Article 1703.1 of the FTA, United States persons shall not be subject to restrictions that limit foreign ownership of Canadian-controlled financial institutions. Therefore, American citizens and institutions can now take over every federally licensed financial institution in Canada, including all of Canada's banks. If a country loses control of its financial institutions, its independence as a sovereign nation dissolves. The U.S. produces 10 times more grain than Canada. American grain will be able to flow north into Canada, undermining Canadian grading and cleanliness standards, and may destroy Canada's entire orderly grain marketing system, wherein all wheat export from Western Canada must be sold through the Canadian Wheat Board rather than by private grain companies, as is the case in the U.S. Article 705 allows for the free flow of wheat, oats, and barley, and all products thereof, including bakery products, across the border, whenever the level of government support for these products becomes equal in each country. Allowing American grain into Canada immediately acts to drive down the price of Canadian wheat, barley, and oats to the U.S. level. The result will be the return of the open market system, notorious for its low and wildly fluctuating prices. Exactly what prairie farmers fought long and hard against in the 1920s and 30s in order to set up the Canadian Wheat Board. For U.S. corporations to gain unfettered access to the Canadian grain industry, the historic power of the Canadian Wheat Board to prevent cross-border trade in grain had to be removed. Well, the Free Trade Agreement did just that. U.S. hog, poultry, and beef can flood the Canadian market. Under FTA, the Canadian government gives up the right permanently to stop the flow of American products, including cheap U.S. corn-fed meats, over the border into Canada. The deal also places Canada's vulnerable fruit and vegetable industry in jeopardy. The food processing industry, one of the biggest industries in Canada, is already 80% American-owned. An open border will make it impossible for Canadian operations to compete.
I want first and foremost to conserve our environment, to guarantee clean air and safe food and drinking water for all Canadians. This is another principle of my conservatism, and it led 27 years ago to my brothers and I converting our farm over to an organic operation. What this means is that we farm without using chemicals or pesticides, and we did this because we felt that the method of agriculture that we were using up till that time is not sustainable, and that we need to move to a much more sustainable direction in terms of our agriculture. At that time it was regarded as a bit of a fringe thing to do, to become an organic farmer, but now of course it's become a very popular thing. It's been a rapidly growing, it's the fastest growing section of the agricultural industry, with a tremendous demand around the world for Canadian organic products. There's no organic farmers asking for any subsidies because the prices that are paid in the marketplace are certainly making it worth their while. The reasons that I got into the organic end were because I was concerned about the impact of these pesticides on our health, on our environment. I lost my father to prostate cancer, and cancer in the farm community is virtually an epidemic in what should be one of the cleanest of occupations. And these concerns, of course, led to this approach to agriculture, which is one which could be a model in many ways in terms of solving many of the problems that our agricultural community is facing today.
Service industries include everything from data processing to automobile repair shops, from tourism, insurance, entertainment, and health services, to shipping, trucking, banking, and financial services, and utilities. In Canada, 70% of jobs are in the services sector. According to the Standard Industrial Classification, the list of service industries included under FTA extend for more than 100 typewritten pages. More than 150 industries are included. For example, under SIC code number 866, healthcare and social services are listed. These include the following areas of healthcare: bear in mind that this is only a partial listing for healthcare services falling under this particular code. These articles state that American corporations are to receive the most favorable treatment. The provincial government, say in British Columbia, must treat American corporations as if they were British Columbian. British Columbia may still discriminate against firms in Manitoba or any other province, but it cannot discriminate against those from the U.S., thereby granting the U.S. more favorable treatment in each province than given the firms from the rest of Canada.